What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Random Encounter Podcast, episode 82. I'm your host, James, and I'm joined by Bryant
in Cosmo Canyon.
and Phaneckswhy.
What's up? What's up?
I assume that's where you're at in Rebirth, Bryant?
A little bit more than that.
A little bit more than that?
I'm on chapter 11 right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still in the same spot. I haven't played all week. I probably won't play for a while. Like, I don't know.
Where are you again?
I'm still in the same spot. I was yet to feed what's his name, Pico or whatever, get him like healthy for the chocobo races.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have motivation to play. I'm
That's
almost
too bad.
yeah. I'm almost about to just go ahead and just search up the ending because I don't know. It's not keeping my.
I think you'll
attention.
regret that.
You think so?
Yeah. If you went through remake, I think you should just suck it up and do
I
it.
should, right? But I don't know. There's just something about playing it that I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm not really feeling it.
The only thing about it the only thing that I'm not keen into is there's just the game would be so much stronger if there were half as many mini games as there are.
Mhm.
Otherwise, for me, it's pretty up there along with remake. Like at first, I was kind of with you, but now that I've kind of gotten used to the combat and everything, I'm a lot more into it than I was before. Like I'd
Yeah.
say before with the combat, I'd be like a six or a 7.
Yeah.
But now that I've gotten used to the combat and going aerial and stuff like that, and kind of getting used to the remake system with the
Yeah.
what do you call it, the junction, the dual attacks and all that. I've grown to like it a lot more. So maybe one day it'll happen for you. We'll see.
I think it's the padding, right? Like the padding that's there that extends certain moments. I'm like, why?
Are you talking about the mini games?
Not even the mini games. Like some of the mini games I don't mind. Some of them, I love Queen's Blood. Like Queen's
Queen's
Blood
Blood,
is,
yeah.
is great. I don't mind like Fort Condor or anything like that. But like the little padding, like where I'm at, where you have to feed Pico. Like I really don't want to do that. I don't think that was part of the original game, right? Was it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like I don't want to do that. I just want to go ahead and continue the story with Barrett and dying, and then move on to the next section. I don't want to do all this like padding, and that's the thing. I I don't know what it is, but like I'm getting to the point where I hate padding, which is my issue with 16. Right? Is that after every big story beat, you have these little side things that I don't care about. I just want to continue the story progression, and you don't have a choice. You have to do it. It feels like an MMO, right? Where MMO, you'll have these little quests to do, and then you get the big story beat. Then you can do these little quests, and then you have the big story beat, and that's very annoying to me. But yeah, we have quite a few bits to talk about today. Well, let me rephrase that because there wasn't a lot of stuff in the news, but there's still a little bit of things that I think we should cover. But before we get into that, as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. We're sitting at 785, so every bit does count. Follow on Twitch as well as we usually do stream on both. I am not doing the vertical stream today because for whatever reason, yesterday it was screwing up OBS and OBS kept crashing. So I was like, screw it. I don't know why it was doing that. So I decided not to do it today. So we're just doing your normal podcast views on both Twitch and YouTube. And before we get into the major topics, I do want to ask everybody something. What did you buy on the Steam Spring Sale or on any of the sales that are going on right now? Anything at all? Let's start with you, Brian.
I have to look at my phone to see. Like, I know I bought something. I bought Pepper Grinder. That wasn't on sale though, but I did buy it technically during the sale. I know I bought something though. Come back to me. Let me look up my purchase history. Hang on.
What about you, Fan? Did you pick up anything yet?
So I did pick up Dragon Quest Builders 2. So I bought that.
Yeah.
And I did use the Greenman Gaming link and bought Dragon Quest 11 Definitive Age. So I got those two today. But I also did pick up Sonic Superstars because it was on sale at Best Buy for like $25. So I grabbed that on the Switch, because that makes more sense to get that on something you can take on the go. Because I mean, it's Sonic. It's one of those games where you can kind of just kind of zone out a little bit. You don't have to like use too much brain power to play. It's more just reaction and just kind of just in the moment.
Yeah, I hear that. Brian, have you already played Dragon Quest Builders 2 at all?
I've played like a few hours of the original and I liked it, and I just know that the next one is probably just like, the first one times a multitude of more stuff or whatever, I'd assume.
Yeah, it's better, like overall. There's things that weren't in the first one for whatever reason that they add in part two that it's like quality of life stuff. But I love the dynamic because you have your character and then you have Malroth, and every time you level up, they just like look at each other and they're like, "Yeah!" And then they go and give a high five to each other. They're just like best buds, and that little dynamic there is just pretty cool. Not only that, like I'm not a huge like Minecraft guy or like world building or crafting, whatever you want to call it, but because this has a story focused on it, it pushes me forward, and I really do enjoy that. So, highly recommend Dragon Quest Builders 2. Dragon Quest Builders 1 is pretty good too. I like to compare them to like Zelda because they're very Zelda-like in terms of combat. It was very simple. You just have your attack button. There's really no dodge. You have to like jump back or try to time hits and know when they're about to attack. So sometimes it's just like do 3 hits and then jump back. Do 3 hits and jump back. Dragon Quest Builders 2 has like combo system, so you can actually do like a super move with your with Malroth, which is pretty cool. And you learn them as you level up, and of course you craft your own gear and stuff like that. Highly recommend it. It's a game that, again, it's not just about crafting. Crafting is pretty big in it, in what they call building, but the combat is also pretty fun because it's, like I said, Zelda-like in that nature. So highly recommend that. And of course, Dragon Quest 11, probably one of the best RPGs to come out in the past like 10 years, I would say. Can't think of another RPG that's on that level in terms of like the scope, the fun, the lore, and all that other stuff. Highly recommend that as well. Did you find the games that you purchased?
I didn't purchase any. I guess I just bought
Oh
Pepper
man.
Grinder. Then like I think the purchase before that I bought was what's it called, Ballastro, that like poker game or whatever,
Oh yeah.
Ballatra or whatever it's called. I bought that too.
Okay.
But that's it.
So for me, I got quite a bit of things. A lot of it was to test with the ROG Ally, which I will give my story after this. So
Can't
I got a
wait.
lot of things to test on the ROG Ally, and stuff that I just bought because I wanted to. Starting off with Star Ocean: The Divine Force, Star Ocean: The Second Story R. I rebought Dragon Quest Builders 2 for Steam, Dragon Quest 11 for Steam, Sonic Frontiers. What else did I get? Chrono Cross, Chrono
Did
Trigger.
you end up did you end up buying 13 Sentinels on Switch?
I haven't. No, I did not
You
end up
gotta do
getting
that.
at that.
You gotta
I
do that.
do. I
Oh,
do
I
have
also
to do
bought
that.
near Automata.
Near Automata. Yeah, that was actually, I was thinking about Near Automata and Near Replicant because they're both like, I think Near Automata is like $12 and Replicant's $20 right now. So I I feel like I'm gonna buy that, but then that's gonna put me into like pretty much the graveyard because I'm gonna have so many games to go through. Um, oh yeah, I bought Final Fantasy 4 because we were talking about it the other was it last podcast? I think we were talking about it. Final Fantasy 4 3D, Final Fantasy After Years,
Mhm.
and Final Fantasy 3 as well. So I bought those because like, they were $5 on Green Man Gaming. It's like, yeah, why not? And then the next one was there. It's like, well, it's just $5. Why not? And then another one's like, well, that's just $5. So why not? And it just kept stacking up. So yeah, I got quite a few games, RPGs. All of them are RPGs except for Builders. You can kind of call it an RPG. I don't know. Or I guess Frontiers 2 is not an RPG. But yeah, that was my haul from all of that. And still debating because today's the last day for the Green Man Gaming sale. And I thought those were probably the best prices I've seen on a lot of those games. Specifically, like Dragon Quest 11 has never gone lower than like $25. This is the cheapest I've ever seen it. So if you haven't played that, definitely pick it up. I highly recommend that. So let me go ahead and tell you about my ROG Ally. It is gone. I returned it. I did make a video about my thoughts on it, so definitely take a look at that. I'm not really gonna go too deep into my video, but I returned it, and my main thing is battery life, right? Like, well, it was two things: battery life, and then powered. Well, no, I'm trying to think like power per performance.
Performance
Basically,
per watt.
yeah, performance per watt, basically, yeah. Where to get the good battery life, you have to play at a lower wattage. But with that lower wattage, the Steam Deck outperforms the ROG Ally. So it's like, do I really need it? Apparently, some people did not like my video. Apparently, I gave somebody cancer because of my video. So I'm
Who
sorry
said that?
about
I read
that.
all the comments. I didn't see that. Was that a
Yes,
comment?
yeah, it was a comment. Maybe they deleted it. I don't know.
Okay.
But it was definitely a comment there, and I said I apologize, and I put thanks for watching. I don't mean to give anybody cancer for my video. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, like my thoughts to me is like when I pick up a handheld, it has to have that portability function, right? I need to have some battery life. And if I can't really optimize that battery life to get a certain threshold, that's when I'm at a loss. Like when the Switch originally came out, it had 3 hours of battery life. And to me, I it did bother me, but 3 hours wasn't that bad. And of course, if you play games like Breath of the Wild, you got a little bit less than that in certain other like demanding games. Of course, the OLED fixed that, and now you can get a crazy ton of battery life. The Steam Deck by nature, regardless of what I'm playing, I could really customize what I want. If I want to go ahead and play it at 30 FPS, I can lower the wattage very low and improve battery life, or I can play it. Usually, what I keep everything at is at 40 FPS. But with the same games I was playing on the Steam Deck versus the ROG Ally, like Dragon Quest Builders 2 was an example, which I was showing Fan earlier today. I was getting about like 30 to 40 FPS, and sometimes 50 at 15 watts. On the Steam Deck, I put it at 9 watts, and I was getting almost a lock 60 with with the Steam Deck, and it's like stuff like that kind of bothered me. I noticed the same thing in Star Ocean: The Divine Force, Dragon Quest 11, and some other games that I played. So like that was a big bummer to me, and I just hated having to be like plugged in. Like I hate being plugged in. That's not my biggest pet peeve. Is just like if I get a portable thing, I don't want to be plugged in. That's why I hate the DualSense controller. The battery life is horrible. I hate that controller because of that. Where you
Do you
have
have the
these
Edge or do you have the regular?
the regular. Yeah, my
The
son
regular.
has
Okay.
the Edge. I'm not gonna
The Edge is even
front.
worse.
Yeah, from what I heard, yeah. So that's why I don't really like this thing, right? I use it when I have to, but something like this I can get 20 hours. So I really have to charge it. The Switch Pro controller is another one that's really good with battery life and so forth. So that's my ROG Ally journey. I did tell Bryant and Fan that if they post a picture of them, and Ash was supposed to do it too, if they posted a picture of them playing Breath of Fire 4, I will get the Steam Deck OLED. And I did.
I did my end of the bargain.
You did. And Fan already knows this because me and him were talking earlier. Before I even said that, I already had it ordered. Like,
Oh really?
yeah, it was already there. I just wanted to see you guys do it. But yeah, I already had the Steam Deck OLED. I was hoping for it to come in today, because it was gonna be the
That'd been a good
surprise TV
reveal.
show up.
That'd been a good reveal. Yeah.
But it got delayed. I'm like, no. So apparently UPS truck got delayed, and now I won't be getting it till Monday because Sunday's not a business day. Plus it's a holiday for most companies out there. So yeah, now we gotta wait till Monday for that to
Did you
come
sell your
in.
LCD yet? Or are you keeping that or what are you doing with that?
I'm giving it to my son. My
Oh, perfect.
sons
There you go.
rather, for both my sons, because my second oldest wants to do a lot of emulation now. He wants to play like older games. Plus, he wants to play Minecraft modded. So this is like an easy way for him to do that. And then my other son, he is wanting it for some other stuff too. Like he wants to play like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and stuff like that. Again, older games. But the neat thing too is now that Steam updated their family sharing and you can start the family, it's gonna be a lot easier for them to play the games that I have. So like if they want to play like Sonic Frontiers or anything else in my library, they can easily do that. So I am excited for that. I am glad that that's a thing. The next thing I'm probably gonna buy is a second dock. So yeah, excuse me, so they can go ahead and dock it to their TV because I have a dock downstairs, but nobody touches my stuff. It stays on its own. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some small news. Starting off with Stellar Blade demo, it came out. Apparently, a lot of people. What did I put in the works? I'm sorry. A Stellar Blade demo came out. A lot of people are enjoying it. Apparently, a lot of people are saying it's pretty tough too, which is a nice thing to see. Has anybody here tried it? I haven't tried it yet. But have you guys tried it?
No, I'm just waiting. I'm gonna buy it day one when it comes out, but I don't want to play the demo. I'll just wait.
I gotcha. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get it day one. I might pick it up eventually. Um, I don't know.
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing.
yeah.
by the time that comes out, I'll be done with Rebirth, and I'll need something that's like fast and zippy and actiony because I just got done playing 120 hours of Persona. By the time this
Yeah.
is done, it's probably gonna be at least 100 hours. Like I need to change it up a little bit.
Dragon Quest Builders got you.
Hey, I have both of those Dragon Quest Builders games, but I mean, again, that's another RPG. I know it's not an RPG, but that's like
Yeah.
another property that's an RPG. Like I need to like try Helldivers or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Fan was bringing that up today that, that'll be a good group stream if you have time to join us. We can all do Helldivers. Well, how many players is that up to? Like, is that 3 or 4?
I think 4. It looks like it's a squad.
Yeah, because it seems like a lot of games, for whatever reason, they're limiting multiplayer to 3. Like, we're going backwards in time. It went from 2 players to 4 players, and then now it's like for cooperative gameplay, they're starting to go backwards for some reason. But while Fan is looking that up, next small bit of news, Xbox released in honor
Yeah,
of
4-player co-op.
4-player co-op. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do a group stream with that after we're done with Strangers of Paradise, maybe. That'll be pretty cool. Um, yeah, so Xbox have released, in honor of Toriyama's death, unfortunately, a Blue Dragon dynamic theme, which is pretty cool. It's just, the Blue Dragon, pretty much the Blue Dragon cover art. You have the main protagonist there with his shadow there, which is pretty cool. So you can definitely go ahead and add that to your Xbox dashboard. That's actually something that I'm going to add. I've had the Halo Infinite one for the background for the longest, but that's going to replace it because I don't care much. The thing about the Xbox dashboard, which is pretty cool, is you can just go into the Edge browser and just copy and paste or download a picture there, and then that can be your dashboard, which is nice. You don't have to use their themes or any of their dynamic themes. The Blue Dragon theme is dynamic, so like the wings of the shadow does move up and down, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you can go ahead and add that as your background. I highly recommend it. Toriyama art is very beautiful. I wish it would show the whole cast, not just a single protagonist, but is what it is. Yeah, let's go ahead and start off with the bigger news. Sonic Heroes Remake might be coming soon, according to Universal Nintendo. And it was slightly backed by Midori, who then later on kind of said maybe not, that there's talks about it, but he doesn't know of any development yet. First he said yes, and then he's saying that. But it apparently is being developed for the new Switch in mind. Has anybody here played Sonic Heroes at all?
I
No,
did
you
not
haven't,
play
Ken.
Sonic Heroes.
I did. I have somewhat of a sordid history with it. When it came out, I want to say it came out in what, 03, 04?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I was working at GameStop, and that game was like one of the demos on the, or you either had it in the machine like for people to play, or like it was like a demo or something like that. And nonstop, my entire shift, you'd play the damn song, that Sonic Hero song, and it would
Yeah.
just play nonstop on loop. And so I ended up buying it, but like every time I would like start it up, I would have to like skip that because like I would get like flashbacks of like being at work and stuff like that.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
it's cool. It's cool. It's coming out. It's a fun game. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play. Well, I played it, but I didn't play it first. It was actually my brothers that played it, and I'll never forget because because that came out when I was in high school, so I would be sleeping. I would sleep late till like 2 p.m. I would wake up at 2 p.m. That was my sleep schedule back then, and I would always hear the Sonic Heroes song. But the thing they would put on the most is they would go to the like music selector, and they would do the hang. I think it's called the Hanged Castle song, uh, and they would just play it over and over again. And I really like that song, but that would always wake me up, and I'm like, man, why is this song playing like nonstop? And I would get up, and of course they were playing that. But eventually, I did play it, and it was pretty cool. The thing that always comes to my head, and you'll hear me when we play games, I always say "level up" because every time they leveled up, you'll have Sonic saying like "level up" or Knuckles "level up." So I would always say that because it's just something that stuck to my head. The little banter that a lot of games do. I always like that stuff. But yeah, apparently remake is coming. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I don't think it was a bad game. It was pretty interesting. It definitely wasn't the best, but it was still one of the better like 3D Sonic games. Especially
Yeah.
after coming after Sonic Adventure, I think this was still pretty good. When I really think about it, not all the Sonic 3D games were bad. Really, Sonic 06 and Forces are probably the worst. Because Generations I liked. Unleash was good, Maybe not the werewolf levels. I'm not a fan of those, but the actual Sonic levels I think are the best in any Sonic game, any 3D Sonic game rather. And what other Sonic game? And then Frontiers. I just started playing Frontiers, and I'm enjoying Frontiers. I really do like it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Frontiers is fun. I got all the achievements on it on Xbox,
yeah,
so I played through it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I like it. Yeah, and I'm playing with the jukebox on. So like I go and do was it Deep Woods, which is from Sonic and the Black Knight. Which that one I'm not a fan of those games because they had like the auto run mechanic and you had to use the Wii remote to like move it sideways. Those were kind of annoying. But the music in Sonic and the Black Knight, the Deep Woods song, amazing. Like I love that
I
song.
mean, Sonic games in general have great music,
That
so you
is
can't really go
true.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
That is true. If there's anything good
We had
about
a
a
whole thing
Sonic
about
game,
that.
regardless, yeah.
We
It's
had a
always
whole
the
thing about that
soundtrack.
last week about Triple Trouble.
Yeah, Triple Trouble. Oh yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, it's
uh,
kind of nice in Frontier, so you can kind of change your track.
yeah,
Like as you get more songs, you can kind of just change it as you play.
yep. And that was a feature that was added later on, which I love because I love also Windmill Isle from Sonic Unleashed. The very first level that you have to do. I just love that song. It's very nostalgic for me because I remember I didn't have money when Unleashed first came out. So what I would do is I would play it on the Xbox 360 and I would do that level over and over again, just a demo. And I remember at one point we had a gathering for my church, and we were inside the kid's house that we had the gathering in, and he had the Xbox 360 there. And he's like, yeah, I have the demo here. So what we would do is we all timed each other to see who would get through the demo the fastest, because it's just one level, which is the Windmill Isle. So that's something we play, and we all race to see who can get the fastest time in that game. Again, that
Back in
game
the good
is
old days,
yeah,
where you
right.
had to make meta games for yourself because you couldn't afford to get a bunch of games fully, so you'd play the demo and just time yourself. Those were the good
Yep,
old days.
exactly. And eventually, I did get Sonic Unleashed. I bought it on the Wii. When I bought my Wii, the downside was I did not know there was a difference between the Wii version and the 360 and the PS3 version. Because I would have bought on the 360 if I knew if I knew what I knew now, which I do own it now. Eventually, I bought it on there, right? But the 360 version, for example, you get to actually move around the city and all that stuff. Where the Wii version, it's just a map, and then you go to different icons, and then NPCs talk to you that way. Kind of like Persona 3 Portable versus like Persona 3, where that's the kind of difference you see there. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. Like, I really do hope that Sonic Unleashed comes or Sonic Heroes comes out. Sonic Unleashed, I do want to come. Like, I feel like if anything, that's the game they should work on. Sonic Unleashed is an amazing game with the 60 FPS and the 4K patch on the Series X. It looks phenomenal, and that's a game that should be either A, remade or remastered, or B, just ported over to PC because I would love to play that game natively. But for whatever reason, I don't know. For whatever reason, Sega doesn't do anything with that game. I don't know why. I mean, I know it had a bad rep in the beginning, but a lot of people have now overcome that and really do like the daytime levels. Yeah. So moving on to our next topic, Resident Evil 9. So there's a rumor now that, and according to a leaker, which his name is, I forgot to open up the article. Give me 1 minute. The leaker's name is, because I do want to give credit where credit's due, Dust Golem. Who he's kind of leaked a couple things. He's saying that the Dragon's Dogma 2 expanded the RE engine functionality for open world games. The two other games building in on this tech is Monster Hunter Wild and Resident Evil 9. So that makes it seem like Resident Evil 9 is gonna be an open world game. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, would you want Resident Evil to be open world? Because in my opinion, I think that's a bad move. Let's start with you, Bryant.
No, I think Resident Evil works as a focused experience that it's directed and led like down. Like that's kind of like part of the horror aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as open world. Like I think that's part of its charm. Like there's just so much open world stuff where like it's 100 hours, you get to go wherever you want. I mean, maybe I'm being a little biased because I'm on my second one right now, but I like Resident Evil. Like it's a quick 15, 20 hours in and out. You're in a very directed experience. It's part of the horror. They can make stuff pop out of you, where if it's open world, choose your own adventure. Like I think that kind of gets down the path of like Resident Evil 6 and stuff like that, where it's just too much. Like just keep it simple.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, fan?
Um, I mean, they can kind of make it like semi open world, like more like open zone.
Yeah.
not like where it's a completely open world, like in the traditional sense. Um, it would it I guess the gameplay would have to like play into it, right? Because a lot of the zombies in Resident Evil, they're not like runners.
Yeah.
They're more like walkers
Yeah.
with the occasional like will come at you, and then you got your dogs that are going to be more of the runners.
Yeah.
But I think if they mix in a little bit more of like kind of like World War Z, that movie with the zombies that are all like just like fast as heck, then that might add like an extra like gameplay style if they go with that open world concept, because you're gonna have to find a way of filling that emptiness, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's open world and there's just like nothing going on, then what's the point?
No, I agree with you on that. I don't know, like, cause to me, to grab that horror aspect, it's like you need to be. I feel like you have to be like enclosed in a small space, right? Resident Evil One, for example, you're in these small corridors through a mansion, and who cannot forget the dogs that pop out of the window? That was a huge thing because a for the set camera, so it kind of forces you to look that direction. But then as you go through, those dogs jump out. Uh, Village did a great job with Lady whatever her name is, Lady D, the
Lady
vampire
D,
lady.
yeah, Lady
Yeah.
D.
Because you're still in these corridors within the mansion, so as you move around, you don't really know. You can hear them, of course, if you have like 3D audio and stuff like that. You can hear her walking around, but sometimes you can't really pinpoint exactly where she's at. So it always surprises you that if you walk around, you run around a corner, she's right there. You're like, oh snap, and move away. I feel with open world, you kind of lose that effect because you can kind of just run wherever you want and not have to worry about stuff. So I personally think I agree with that. I think it's the wrong move. I don't know why Capcom would be thinking about that. As far as Monster Hunter goes, I think it's the perfect choice, right? Because Monster Hunter Worlds was already kind of like that. It was open zone, so you had multiple different zones, and within those open zones, you had a whole, what would you call it, like biomes, I guess. You have a forest one, you have a snowy one, you have a desert one, and so forth. And I mean, I can kind of see it going open world. And to me, I think it would make more sense versus Resident Evil 9. Resident Evil 9 is always that enclosed experience. It goes back to something that we used to talk about in the podcast quite a bit, and that's not every game needs to be open world. Like, open world is cool for some games, but not every game needs to be that, right? It's like if Mario became an open world experience. I think it would be kind of weird, even though Bowser's Fury was kind of like that. Not really, but kind of like that. I really like the Bowser's Fury experience. But still, it's like I feel like you lose something if you go open world. Not even Sonic Frontiers was open world; it was open zoned, right? And to me, I think it just makes better sense that way.
And that's what I mean. Like Resident Evil 9 can go that route where it's not completely open world, where they still can kind of have a
Yeah.
control about how the zombies are populated and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to like add more different types of zombies to kind
Yeah.
of fill in that space.
Yeah. Not even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth went open world. It's open zone, right? You have these giant zones you can explore and go on. I don't know. I just think like don't do open zone at all. Just do these enclosed experience that you had because that's what works. Don't go the Resident Evil 6 route and start doing crazy things because other games are doing it. Just because Dragon's Dogma is a great open world game does not mean Resident Evil is going to be a great open world game. They're two different games, two different genres. They both have something totally different. People don't play Resident Evil for the same reasons they play Dragon's Dogma.
They could do like an open zone of like Raccoon City, like you're in Raccoon City and you're in like exploring different districts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would work. I mean, honestly, yeah, Resident Evil 3 in Raccoon City. Yeah, I guess that would work a little bit better if you can explore the city because you're in closed corridors, go through alleyways and stuff like that. But even then, like if it's fully open, that means you can't have any blockages, right? So like you can't have blockades and all these things there because then technically it's not open world, right? It's still a guided experience. So I don't know.
So that's what I mean. Like just make it an open zone, right? You
Mhm.
know, like there is a blockade, like where there's sections that are quarantined.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, if you're not infected, you can get through, and then it takes you to the next district. So each district is kind of enclosed within itself.
Yeah, which is kind of like what it was in the original Resident Evil, even though they weren't that big. It was kind of like that. Hey, Geek Show, what's up? Welcome to the stream, man. Yeah, so I hope not. We'll see what happens with the future of Capcom, because right now Capcom is on a roll, but they can always fall back down. It's easy to lose that, right? It's easy to lose being at top. All right, we're actually going through these topics pretty quick because I actually thought we were going to be take a little bit longer. But our last topic of the day is Xbox handhelds. Phil Spencer had an interview with Polygon. They went over quite a bit of things. And one of them is an Xbox handheld. He kind of gave his viewpoint on what an Xbox handheld would be. And the more he explained about it, the more I'm like, this is just like what's already there, just Xbox branded. And it's one of those things that, do you feel that Xbox needs a handheld, or should they just somehow find a way to merge the Xbox store and the Windows store and just kind of make it one where all your games are available on Xbox can be available through Windows in the Windows store? Like, what do you guys think about that? Would you get an Xbox handheld?
From your lips to God's ears, James. Because the last thing you need
Yeah,
is yet
right?
another one to torment yourself over. Maybe it depends on the hardware. If it's really impressive, maybe with an OLED screen, play the entire Xbox library on it, backwards compatible, like that'd be really hard to turn down, especially if the price is right.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the specs and what exactly it does, and if it ends up being what I dream it would be, then that'd be something I'd definitely be interested in.
It'd probably be like a Series S performance, but in a handheld.
Yeah.
You know?
Could be crazy if that was that good.
That's true. Yeah, because I don't even think the Steam Deck is as good as the Series S. Is a little
No.
bit less.
It's probably like maybe like a PlayStation 4, maybe like a little less than a PlayStation 4, give or take, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty.
Yeah, they would have to open up the Xbox store to the Windows store too. Like, they would have to, because if they confine it into like just the Xbox store, then people are gonna be like, well, what's the difference of me just playing this versus doing game streaming, XCloud or whatever, like on a handheld? Like, how does that make it any different?
Yeah.
What's the, you know, uniqueness that makes me want to buy this versus doing XCloud streaming?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was like, again, yeah, you're right. Like, Xbox is in a tough position, and we've said this multiple times. I think their biggest issue is because they don't have these exclusives. So it is coming down to, why should I? Now, he did also mention like this Xbox handheld, you can technically have like Epic Game Store on it and all these other stores on it, which then becomes, again, in Windows handheld territory. For me, the only thing that I can think of that would make an Xbox handheld go on top versus, let's say, like an ROG Ally would be, you get rid of Windows and you have like an Xbox OS. It's a lot lighter, doesn't have as much background tasks running, which therefore will give you better performance, better battery life, and all these other things. I think that's where that would be the key. If you can do an Xbox handheld, name it, Xbox Mini or I don't know, something like that, have an Xbox OS. To just have the Xbox OS, maybe a little bit more open up, again, having the Epic Game Store and all that stuff, then I think that would be key. That would allow people to dive in and use the Xbox ecosystem, which is what they want, and then some. Because I would pick it up if you're telling me that this will have the same games as the Xbox as well as on PC. I'm there, right? If I can play my Steam games while also playing, Lost Odyssey that's only available on Xbox, I would definitely pick it up day one because that kind of blends both worlds, and I think that would be a huge plus in that end. But I don't see that happening, honestly. Like, that's too hopeful. Yeah, every time something sounds too good, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, unfortunately. But what do you think about multiple stores coming? He even brought out the idea of multiple stores on the Xbox itself. So having like Epic Game Store or GOG or anything like that. Like, to me, I can see it because that kind of embraces like the Windows mentality and kind of what they're about, where it's just about putting their game on every platform. So if they open up their platform and just enable everything on there, you're pretty much right there at a cheap portable PC, if that makes sense. Or not portable PC, but like a cheap mini PC. Affordable PC. That's the word I was looking for. Affordable. Because $500 for Series X or whatever, I believe they're $500 still. That's not a bad price for the performance, and if it can play PC games on there, like whatever you buy on Epic Game Store or even Steam, I think that's a huge plus, honestly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the only way Microsoft would even entertain that idea is if they somehow had a deal specifically with Steam,
Yeah,
saying like, hey, we're not going to ask you to cut into your 30%, but we'd want something
yeah,
out of these purchases. So if a game is bought through Steam on an Xbox, then Microsoft should get a cut or something.
yeah.
That's the only way I can see them like even entertaining that idea.
Well, yeah, and there's also the thing of, will these people actually put their platform on there? It's
Yeah.
like Epic Game Store, for whatever reason, they're still not available on Steam Deck. And Epic Game Store, like Epic themselves, I feel like they're the type of people, not people, but the type of company that they want to be out there. I mean, they're trying to invade, Android, iOS, everything out there. They just want their platform to be there. And it's like, why haven't you put your store on Steam Deck? A lot of people want to play Fortnite on a Steam Deck, but you haven't done anything about that. So it's one of those, like, would they be willing to even do that in the first place? Because yeah, they will get the benefit of getting that, but on the flip side, right? Xbox makes no money, so if everybody just continues to buy games on, let's say, Steam, for example, then Xbox is really screwed because they're making $0 now from a console that they're already selling at a loss. So, what about you, Bryant?
I mean, it's an interesting theory. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as like turning the key and like automatically all these games that are on computer are just going to like work on Xbox unless it was like the Xbox version of these. Like if you owned Hi-Fi Rush on Steam, it would just be the Hi-Fi Rush on Xbox. You'd have like a license for. But if it's a game like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's like really old that's on Steam that's not on Xbox. I'm kind of coming up short right now. I know there's something though. I can't
Half-Life
think of an
1?
example.
Is Half-Life 1
Yeah.
Sure. No, Half-Life 1 is not on there. I think the
Okay.
orange box is, but okay, Half-Life
Yeah.
1, for example, like I don't think it's just as simple as like them just saying like, okay, an Xbox is a PC, so this is just going to run natively. Because if it were that easy, then porting from consoles to PC would be a
Here's
it
the
Not
would be
thing,
now,
though.
anyway.
instantaneous.
I mean, if it was the original
Horizon
Xbox,
Forbidden
then yeah.
West.
Right? Would you say
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
it's a new game.
Yeah,
And it's not on
yeah,
Xbox, so
right. That's true.
yeah. Because that
I
would be
mean,
interesting.
Any of the PlayStation games, Days Gone, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank,
Spider-Man.
yeah, Spider-Man, yeah, any of those games.
I mean, could you imagine that? Like, I feel like that could be a game changer if like Steam gets allowed on Xbox, and then people see they can play Spider-Man 2. Then does
Yeah.
that kind of eliminate the need for a PS5 then?
Yeah, I don't know why Sony would give Microsoft a lifeline. Like Sony's doing real well right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd feel like if that happened, like they'd step in and like you can't have your
Right.
Steam store on an Xbox.
Yeah, that's true. Like licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
But opening the Microsoft and like game store and the Xbox game store and combining it, I think would be a step forward in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that way people can play, like you said, Lost Odyssey or Blue Dragon on modern hardware without having to have a 360 just sitting there
Yeah.
collecting dust just to play that one game,
Yeah. That would be awesome. I mean, Blue Dragon is a game that should be played by a lot of people, and unfortunately, it's locked to an Xbox One. And, I mean, to be fair, we always talk about exclusive self consoles, right? And those, I own a Series X because that's the only way I can play those games, which is nice. So if they're keeping that hostage so that people can buy the Xbox, then it's a smart move. But not a lot of people are going to be doing that because it's like, well, just for these two games, like why should I buy a $500 console for these two games? But some people do. They buy the Series S just to play them. I was going to say something I completely forgot. Oh yeah. One thing he did mention though was talking about how having these platforms show up on the Xbox would help out with competition in terms of pricing, which I do agree. Because where we're at right now, especially with the physical versus digital, is with physical games, there's always a deal, right? If Best Buy doesn't have a sale, Target might have a sale, or GameStop might have a sale, or so far, or you can find it somewhere pretty cheap. When it comes to these digital games, it's up to Microsoft and PlayStation. That's kind of it. On PC though, you have multiple stores. If Steam is not having a sale, you can go to the Epic Game Store, to the EA Store, Ubisoft, or whatever else is out there. You have Green Man Gaming that sells keys for cheap, right? There's so many different places to get these games for PC. Where with PlayStation and Xbox, there's really nothing, or Nintendo. There's nothing out there. Well, actually, there's Humble Bundle for Nintendo because Nintendo sometimes sells their stuff on Humble Bundle. But outside of that, you're kind of screwed. So like a lot of these games digitally will stay $60 for a very long time. And if there's a sale, sometimes the sales are just like $10 or $20 off. Where physically you can sometimes get 50% off, 75% off, and so forth. So I do agree with him with that, and I think that would help out. Shamu Watts, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's where we're at with that, and I agree with that. I think I've always said that something has to be done about that, because if they want to go all digital and then they can also control the pricing, then we're kind of screwed. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of going to be one of those things where it's all going to depend on where the power lies with the Sony exclusives, where the money goes to Microsoft, who benefits with what, where the strategy is with the consoles, with the PC. Like, I know Xbox is all about playing anywhere, any console, any device, whatever. But at a certain point, if they give away the Ghost, it's just going to be, then what is Xbox if it's just play anywhere? And you just kind of start to lose your identity as a console and as a brand. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. Yeah, and that's, I think, where Xbox is right now. It's like people don't care. I know a lot of people are saying that Phil Spencer like kind of killed Xbox, or helped killed it rather. I don't think that's fair to say, but I do agree that a lot of bad decisions are being made, and I don't know. I feel the picture that they see is not the picture that, how can I put it? The picture they see and what they're seeing at is not exactly the correct picture, if that makes sense. Does that make sense at all? Yeah.
I guess. The
Like,
wording on that is kind of weird.
yeah, like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like a good way to put it. I don't know how to phrase that. I just don't think it's the right direction, I guess. Like, they, in their mind, they had this imaginary world of how things should be and how they want it to be, but the reality of that is not exactly that. Like, that is not how these things work. That's not how it should be, and they should be actually looking at other ways to improve their platform. It's kind of hard to turn into words. Like, I'm trying to express my thoughts in words, and it's kind of hard to say. Basically, like, just look at what PlayStation's doing, what Nintendo's doing, just copy them. That's what they should be doing. Not trying to really think different, because they're thinking different is not really doing it.
Yeah, do you think they would get away from the Game Pass, right? Where it's just a monthly and stuff like that, and games are just cycling around, where they might go the route of like, hey, we'll start putting these games for permanent sales, or on sale, where you can own it permanently, versus just a revolving door of games coming in and going with the Game Pass subscription.
What do you mean by that?
Because you know how Game Pass, right? You pay a monthly subscription, you can download the game, but sometimes those games get taken out and replaced with a different game.
Yeah.
It's like Netflix of gaming. That's a revolving door of new games coming in, old games coming out, right? But we don't always have time to play every single game we want to play. So will they add like a discount code on top of that, where like you could buy that game permanently at a discount if you have Game Pass, or if you don't have Game Pass, maybe just allow it to where sometimes these games do go on sale, because on Switch a lot of the games do digitally go on sale and they're cheaper as the digital version versus the physical. And that's why they're doing so well with their eShop, is that a lot of these games, again, on sale so often that people are just buying them digitally.
Yeah. So they do that. If you have a Games Pass subscription, any game that's in Game Pass, you get 20% off. So
Okay.
you can get any of the games that are on Game Pass for 20% off. So that they do that as an incentive to like buy the game, and they do push out like notifications like, oh, these games are missing. Lock your your game at a 20% off discount and stuff like that. Because I always get those notifications when a game is
Oh,
coming off.
I never
You
do.
can get it. Yeah, I always see it on my phone through the Xbox app. That's probably why.
Mm,
But yeah, if you go into like Game Pass, even on PC, if you go to the Game Pass, it'll say play with Game Pass, and then next to it, there's the price minus 20% off.
yeah.
So
See,
they'll
I'm
have.
wondering if they should just like forego that altogether. Like
Mhm.
maybe make the discount bigger on Game Pass,
Yeah, I mean,
and and it doesn't have to be a flat 20%.
yeah,
It could be a different sale price occasionally, just like how games are
yeah.
always on sale digitally on Green Man Gaming or Steam and stuff like that.
Well, it's
You
probably
know,
because it's probably 20% off because they make 30% from the store, right? So them have taking off the 20% off, I'm pretty sure that's Xbox eating the cost, and they're only making 10% off of that sale. Like that's
mm.
I'm pretty sure that's how that's working there, which is why they won't go more. Because if they go more, then they make no money off of that sale, and only the publisher does. And they got to make something to keep the store going on, right? Because they have to generate some type of revenue, from the Xbox store or Microsoft store or wherever you're gonna buy from. So that's my thoughts on there. But yeah, there is one more topic that I did want to talk about because we had the discussion of the Xbox handheld. What is everybody's favorite handheld? Not including the Steam Deck or any of the PCs that we have today, because honestly, in my opinion, the Steam Deck is the best handheld. And a lot of it's because you can play pretty much any console on there. So that's why it's my favorite handheld. But going back in time, right, thinking of all the dedicated handhelds out there, what is your favorite handheld and what are your favorite games on that handheld? Let's start with you, Brian.
I'm probably going to have to say Game Boy Advance. I'll say just because the graphical fidelity leap from Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance was crazy. There were so many awesome ports from like Super Nintendo to the Game Boy Advance because it could finally like handle that. I remember when the Game Boy Advance came out, I played it for the first time at a software, etc. And the demo unit
I remember
had
software,
in
etc.
yeah
Yeah.
GameStop software, etc. Land. They had in a demo of or they had the full game. I don't remember. Oh, it's probably a demo of Super Mario Advance, Super Mario Brothers 2, and just seeing like the giant enemies and pulling the veggies out of the ground, and they're like gigantic, and just like being so impressed with the sprites and like how big everything was and how fast it all ran. That Castlevania game that came out that I remember EGM just like raved about, except for the fact that like it was so dark that it was like impossible to play unless you had like a great light source.
Yeah.
The launch lineup was great. You had like I remember there's like a Choo Choo Rocky game, like Dreamcast port of that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the Mario Advance game, the Astro Boy game was fantastic. Legend of Zelda that came out for it. What was that? Was that
Minish
the
Cap,
Minish Cap?
Minish
Yeah,
Cap,
Minish
yeah,
Cap.
Yeah.
which was made by
Link's
Capcom.
Yep.
right. Um,
They
Link to the
need to do
Past had
another
a
Link
port.
game.
Yeah, Link to the Past had a port there as well. Just a very special time. It came out in 2001. I was just starting high school, and I remember getting it, and I remember getting Mario Kart on it as well. What was that called? Was it Toadstool Tour?
No, Mario Kart Advance or Super Circuit.
Was it just
Super
Mario Kart
Circuit.
Advance?
The Super
Super
Circuit.
Circuit. There you go. Yeah, Super Circuit. And just like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing like a real Mario Kart game on a handheld and just being like blown away by that. And then, of course, later the SP came out, and the SP was even better because number one, the backlit screen, which made games that were previously like unplayable
Yeah.
totally great, and the form factor was nice. The flip screen was great because you didn't have to worry about scratching it. Oh, the Sonic Advance games were great too. I remember when I was in high school, I was in pit band. I was a bass player in pit band, and while there was like a play going on, like on the stage, and I was like waiting for like the song to start in the musical, like I'd just be like playing on my on my Game Boy Advance SP, like Sonic Advance 2. But yeah, Game Boy Advance, very very special system, very special time in my life. So that's kind of where I land.
See, I think I have my Game Boy Advance in here. don't know.
Did you like the if you
setup
could
plan.
get the form factor but all the benefits of the SP on a regular GBA form factor? Would you prefer that, or do you like the SP form factor? Because it is kind of cramped a little bit, you know. So I mean, older now, us being adults, holding an SP might be a little bit uncomfortable. Where holding a GBA is a little
As a
bit easier on the
teenager.
hands.
Yeah, when you're a teenager, it's real easy to hold the Game Boy Advance SP. But now, like Steam Deck is great because I have giant hands and it's nice. It's because the Steam Deck kind of has like the Game Boy Advance form factor and Game Gear for that matter. So I'd have to hold an SP again. It's been a long time since I've held one of those. It wasn't what's it called? That one system is kind of that form factor. It doesn't flip though. What's that called? The that console that that you
Neo?
can play. No, you can play like your Game Boy games on it. Like it's
Oh,
like a
the
great
analog pocket.
analog pocket. Yeah, that.
It's more the Game Boy,
Kind of.
the normal
Yeah,
Game
that's
Boy
more
form
like a
factor.
DMG style
Yeah, it's
size. Yeah,
because the Game Boy Advance was like a
It was
it was like
horizontal.
horizontal, and then
Yeah,
SP was just clamshell, where
yeah
it's
it was still
square.
it was vertical though.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just you could close it. But yeah, I mean, if I had to choose like ergonomic wise and like feel like I would prefer the GBA like design. But
With the
I would
screen
like
of
all
the
the
SP.
benefits of the SP,
Yeah.
you know, like the
Mhm.
backlit and all of that.
Yeah, I like the clamshell like design for the SP. It makes it very portable because it was easy just to fold up. I mean, I was playing the SP a while back, and to me, like I have small hands still. Like I don't have giant hands, so to me, playing the SP just felt fine. Uh, I like that design mainly because of the clamshell. Like I really love the clamshell design. You know, the DS, the 3DS. I mean, heck, if a Switch 2 had a second screen and it can just fold over, I would like that as well. Like,
Don't have to worry about damage. That was always my favorite thing. You could just
yeah.
close it, throw it in a bag, and
Mm-hmm.
you're fine.
That is true. That is true. What about you, fam? What's your pick?
For me, it'd be the this is actually the first handheld I bought with my own money. So it would be the PlayStation Portable.
PSP?
Like I didn't buy a GBA or a Game Boy myself. Those are either hand me down or gifted to me. You know, so I never actually bought one with my own money. So this is like the first handheld I bought with my own money. And I mean, come on, the PSP had such a great library of games. You know, yes, it was a unique, with the UMD drives,
Yeah.
like the spinning disc and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, the games would be a little weird if you shake it and stuff like that. That's because it was a spinning disc, but you couldn't knock down the games. Like there are so many good games on that console.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was working at GameStop when that came out, and a dude brought in an import PSP, or he either was in Japan and bought it, or he imported it, and he showed me Ridge Racer 7 on that thing, and it just blew my mind how fantastic it looked, like the resolution, the graphics, and everything like that. And then of course Luminous later. I freaking love Luminous. It's like one of my favorite puzzle games. But yeah, you're right, fan. So many classic games on there. Lots of really good ports, like the Castlevania, Dracula X, and
Metal
Power
Gear
Stone is on
Solid,
there.
Cactus was on it.
Final Fantasy, Crisis
Crisis
Core
Core.
started on there. Yeah, a
Final
great
Fantasy 1 and
system.
2 were on there. Final Fantasy Tactics, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 4 in the
Disgaea.
after years. Yeah,
Yeah.
Disgaea.
And I remember me buying it because I bought it when I just started working at Best Buy.
Yeah.
And that's when I got it. Bought it with my own money. It was good. And I mean, it's like technically a PSP. Heck, even a Vita nowadays is still, you can still get one now, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it.
Yeah.
So.
I want to look something up about the PSP. What was the price at launch? Was it $249 or $3?
I thought it was $299, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I thought it was around that price point.
At launch. It was $249 at launch. I'm going to do an inflation calculator here. I want to see what that would be today. So that would be in 2005, $249, 2024. That'd be $400. So that's about the same ballpark as a Steam Deck, give or take. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, like at the time, it went through so many iterations.
It did.
PSP, had 4 different versions of it. PSP Go would probably be like the worst, obviously one, but you know.
My favorite thing about it is that like I think back to when it came out and like I forget like the biggest memory stick you could buy was like a gig and it was like $100 or something like that. Like I remember like that was a big deal if you got like a gig memory stick for it. It was just a standard what were those memory sticks called? They were like long.
They're memory stick duos.
Duos?
It
Yeah,
was
duos.
Sony's like
Yeah.
proprietary memory cards.
Yeah. And I just remember like that was like such a big deal if you got like the gigabyte stick because that was like gigantic. And now you get a little micro SD that's like 32 gigabyte micro SD for like $5-10 or whatever. It's not a big deal.
They had a 1.5 terabyte, I think PNY micro SD a couple days ago. I think it was like 89,
yeah.
$90.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
We've been there for the times of changing.
Yeah, I mean, I could think when the Switch first came out, like 256 gigabyte was like around $50 or something like that, or even more than that. And now you can get a 256 gigabyte, or you can get a 512 gigabyte now for like $15. It's crazy. Like when I bought my Steam Deck and I did a 512, it was $50 that I paid for that, and that was a sale price. Now the one that I got for the ROG Ally, I only paid $20 for it. So I'm like, yeah, they're a lot cheaper nowadays. So for me, it's tough, but I think I'm gonna go with the 3DS. Like I really love the 3DS because the 3DS was definitely, when I got it, it felt like playing a GameCube or a Wii. And there's just so many great games on the 3DS. I mean, we have Ocarina of Time 3D, which is the best version of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask 3D, which is the best version of Majora's Mask.
I've heard mixed things about that.
Why is that? What have you heard?
I've heard that like they really like messed with the difficulty in Majora's Mask. Like there's some things in it that I guess like the controls for the Zora swimming isn't as good, or like there's just like some stuff they nerfed or whatever. But there's other good things too. Like if you go on Reddit, that's a big like point of contention. Like what version is better? Like the Bomber's Notebook and like the ability to change time more incrementally is considered cool, even though it makes the difficulty a little less drastic. But I've heard some people say the N64 version's better, and some people say the 3DS version's better.
Yeah, 3DS version's better. They're all liars.
Okay. I mean, you get it's better graphics for one. They've upped it.
That's true.
So
yeah.
It looks better.
It's not just a like clean palette and up-resing it. No, they added textures and stuff like that.
The 3D looks nice. That came out the same day that the new 3DS came out. I remember.
Did it? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll look it
up.
So
I didn't have a 3DS at launch, but I have a 3DS now, and it's homebrewed, and I do have to say I don't play any game in 3D.
Because you haven't found the right ones. Yeah, because like Super Mario 3D Land, you do want to play in 3D. Because there's levels there that if you don't have the 3D turn on, you're screwed.
That game's fantastic.
Yeah, you will fall quite a lot. Because when you're looking at it in 2D, it looks like it's a like flat like 2D like
level.
But when you turn on the 3D, there's a bunch of different like pillars and floating platforms and stuff like that you wouldn't know that it's there if you didn't have the 3D. I was doing a stream of 3D Land last year sometime, and I got to one of the levels and I kept dropping off because I could not see the platform. I knew there was a platform there because I played I played it on my 3DS. I just couldn't find it because it was, on your monitor, it's only 2D, so I couldn't see that. But yeah, you have
Link Between Worlds. Link Between Worlds is great.
Link Between Worlds is another one. Even like dropping off in certain areas, if you don't have the 3D turned on, you can miss a drop and stuff like that. So that's another one. Ocarina of Time is still pretty good in 3D. Some games, when you put on the 3D effect, it does give you a wider viewing angle as well, which is pretty cool. So more of what's being shown. Well, you can see more on the map and stuff like that. Star Fox 3D is another one that's really good. There are games that 3D doesn't matter. Like Tales of the Abyss doesn't even have 3D turned on. Like if you turn it on,
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem.
Would you say Fire Emblem doesn't matter? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, you do get the 3D effect. It's cool, but it looks cool like on the map because then you can kind of see more like depth to like the trees and stuff like that. But it doesn't take away from the gameplay. Metal Gear Solid 3D is actually pretty
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's the best way to play Metal Gear Solid 3. The only downside is the frame rate is lower, but the controls are more modern, so it's a lot easier to play. But there's a cool thing that while Snake has both of his eyes, you can see 3D. The minute he loses his eye, you cannot use 3D
Oh,
anymore.
that's funny. That's such a Kojima thing. That's
Yep.
great.
But that was pretty awesome because I'll never forget when I got to that point. I was like, why is my 3D not working? Like, you turned it on and off and nothing was happening. And of course, it's because now Snake only has one eye, so he can't see in 3D. That was pretty neat. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3D is cool. I believe you can overclock your CPU on the 3DS so that you can run it at a steady 30 FPS on 3DS, or you can of course emulate it and then do it that way as well.
You know, Dead or Alive had a port on 3DS too, which I totally forgot about. Yeah, you had it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dead or Alive Dimensions, and that one's pretty. So that's that game actually I wouldn't play in 3D because when you play it at 3D, it runs at 30 FPS, and fighting games you typically want to play it at 60 FPS. So I wouldn't play that one. But yeah, going back to that, like there's so many great games. I mean, we just mentioned a ton of them. Not only that, you can play the DS games. So there's a lot of great DS games that you can play, such as everybody's favorite, the Phantom Hourglass, right? No, I'm just kidding. Nobody likes that game. But there's a lot of great DS games that you can play. Mega Man Star Force, Final Fantasy 4 remake, Final Fantasy 3 remake. What's another game that's on DS that I can't think of right now? I don't know why I can't think of any DS.
Actually, hold on one second.
Kingdom Hearts 358/2, Kingdom Hearts Recoded. Those are two games as well. They're pretty good. But yeah, you can play DS and 3DS games. You also have the eShop, and there's a lot of great games on eShop. You can play some Game Boy games. They have Game Boy Color games. If you were an ambassador like me, you got NES and Game Boy Advance games. You can get Earthbound on there through SNES and the eShop Virtual Console. So yeah, I think 3DS is probably my favorite. I'm definitely very nostalgic for it because when I got to 3DS, like I barely had money, and this was kind of like my wind down and kind of comfort time. So I would get that. I'll never forget because I bought that, and there was really no good games out there. So I bought that Street Fighter 4, Dead or Alive, and I got Pokemon Black. I believe, yeah, Pokemon Black. I got all of those at launch because Pokemon Black came around the same time, and from there it just got better and better. You got awesome themes. I mean, the theme store in there was amazing. Uh, it brought us Bravely Default. It started that franchise, brought Team Asana on the map. Which Bravely Default was really good, and of course we got the sequel there. It revived Fire Emblem, like you mentioned earlier. Like that saved Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Awakening. I mean, I think you guys know the story, and everybody should know the story. But if Fire Emblem Awakening didn't succeed, they were gonna just cancel Fire Emblem indefinitely. Like it wouldn't have been any new Fire Emblem games from there on out.
They would have F-Zero'd it.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. And well, I mean, we got F-Zero 99, right? That's an older game. But yeah, they said that if Awakening flopped, then that was it. They were done with Fire Emblem because unfortunately Fire Emblem wasn't doing too hot. But they did.
Funny I was funny we're talking about 3DS because I turned mine on 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And nothing would load up, and I started freaking out a little bit. Like it would get to like the homepage and nothing would show up, and I eventually determined that my memory card was totally messed up, and I like ejected the memory card, and then my 3DS would launch and it would be okay. Yeah. And then I bought a new memory card, and then it's working fine now. So I had to re-download all of my digital games on 3DS. That's what I've been doing the past couple of days. So just a couple of highlights that I found that you didn't mention yet. Let's talk about that Smash Brothers game for 3DS. Was fantastic.
I don't know why I haven't.
That was a great one. Yep. That was a great game. Donkey Kong Country Returns, Kid Icarus Uprising, Kirby Triple Deluxe.
Yep.
Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Theater Rhythm started there, I believe.
Yeah.
Mario Luigi Dream Team. What'd you say?
Luigi's Mansion 1 is on there as well.
Yeah, it got ported to that too, I think, yeah. Yoshi's New Islands, you already mentioned Star Fox. The Monster Hunter games had a big presence there as well. Puzzle, I remember Nintendo made a big deal out of like Puzzle and Dragons, Super Mario Brothers. Xenoblade Chronicles had a port there. Animal Crossing, new Super Mario Brothers games 1 and 2. I mean, there's just so much here. Like, I mean, I could spend the next 20 minutes talking about all the games that are on here and that got like ported here.
I'm sure.
Metroid Samus Returns. Yeah, he would have a bunch.
Yeah, Ashley mentioned Ace Attorney games because there was Ace Attorney games on there. Yeah, like I honestly like I feel like it has some of the
That's a good
best
choice.
library. Uh, I modded my 3DS now that the 3DS eShop's kind of dead, and I just went in and started adding games that I might have missed out on. Well, not might have that missed out on, but who can forget two of the best games on 3DS? Dragon Quest 8 and Dragon Quest 7 are both on there, and they're both Dragon Quest 7 is a complete remake, redone from the ground up. Dragon Quest 8 is a port that graphically doesn't look as good as the PS2 version, but they added a bunch of extra stuff to it as well. So those are great games that are also available on 3DS. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. Mario Kart. Did you mention Mario Kart?
No, I didn't, but I have that too.
Yeah, Mario Kart 7 was great. Like in my opinion, I think Mario Kart 7 like revitalized the love of Mario Kart for me because Mario Kart DS it was okay, but it was kind of like meh. But then when I played 7, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's basically the Wii version of Mario Kart. It's Mario Kart Wii, but better in my opinion. And yeah, and that that's how we got Mario Kart 8 and so forth. So there's a lot of great things that the 3DS did. So that's my console. I think it's still the best console. There's a lot of stuff that came for it. The Pokemon games were also great on there. We got Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. I can go on and on. I mean, we can name so many games that the 3DS had. So yeah, it's definitely my favorite handheld ever made. And yeah, like I just wish that we can somehow play these games without having to resort to emulators and stuff like that. Get some ports or something.
Yeah, I'm really bummed out that like I remember I was on the fence about buying Advance Wars on Wii U, like the 1 and 2 whatever run with the Wii U
Yeah.
eShop, and I'm like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna just get the remake on Switch, and I did, but like the art's okay on it, but I think I like the old art better on
Same
the
here.
first Advance Wars games, you know. So I wish I could go back in time and just buy those on Wii U just to have them.
Yeah.
But yeah, RAP eShop.
I wish. I mean, I love the Wii U. I know there's people out there who like when you say you love the Wii U, they're like, oh, you like a console that flopped, and I wish Nintendo's. I wish it succeeded, right? I wish there was something about it that succeeded. Hey, Ash is joining. I wish it would have succeed because there's a lot of great things that I think was going on with the Wii U that I liked. That was just more fun that the Switch doesn't have. Like I like the Switch as a console. I think it's a great console. It does a lot of things great, which is basically the gaming factor, but it doesn't have a lot of the fun factor that the Wii U and the 3DS has, and I feel like that's something that we just didn't get on the Switch. So that that's my thoughts on there when it comes to that. Yeah, it's sad, but we'll see if Ash has anything to mention. If not, we are gonna end the podcast right now. Ash, you hear us?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm at the laundry room because I might as well put my 2 cents in on my favorite handheld. So it's actually going to be the DS, if anything, because my second favorite is actually the Game Boy library, and with the DS, it had a strong library, and at the same time, I can play backwards compatible to Game Boy as well. So I love 3DS. Don't get me wrong. I have a fantastic time with that system. It's just the DS had a way stronger library than the 3DS did, in my opinion, and stuff. And yeah, I had a blast with it. And I also modded my 3DS recently, and yeah, I love all the custom themes I'm putting in there. It's mostly Genshin stuff, but yeah, it's good times, good times.
Right. Yeah, I mean, don't forget, like 3DS could play all the DS games, which is another reason why I chose it because you have the 3DS, DS. Since I was ambassador, I had GBA games. It was
I was
actually
ambassador as well.
yeah. That's actually how I played WarriorWare. I never played the WarriorWare game until I got that
Oh,
free
you
from
never did?
no, and then I got through the ambassador program, I got WarriorWare Inc. and then played it, and I was like, man, this game is amazing. Like I love these mini games.
Oh yeah, bro, man. When that stuff came out in the Game Boy, man, I was confused what it was at first, and then I just bought it. My parents just bought it for me. I played it. I was like, what the heck? It's just stimulating. I love it. So,
Yeah, yeah, I do like that. I'm trying to think. There's another game. I don't remember. There was something else. Oh yeah, the Four Swords Adventure. 3DS people, like ambassadors got that too. It was a
oh yeah, yeah.
standalone Four
That,
Swords Adventure game.
that was great.
Didn't you get Metroid Fusion too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Metroid Fusion was another one. Yeah, which
Fire
I
and Sacred
already.
Stone was on there too.
Yeah, Sacred Stones was on there. F-Zero was on there. What else? There's some other games that I can't.
Oh, there was the
Mario Kart
Mario
Super
Kart
Circuit.
game.
What was it?
I think there was a Mario vs. Donkey Kong,
Was there? I don't remember that.
the Game Boy one. Yeah.
Oh man, now I must have missed out on it, or either that, or I might have like removed it and just not play it, or maybe I think you are right actually. Yeah, the one they just remade recently. I think
Yeah.
you're right. That one was on there. I think I removed it because I didn't care for it at the time, and then now that I look back at it, it was actually a pretty good game because I played like the
Yeah,
remake
yeah,
versions.
it's more like a puzzle game and
Mhm.
stuff. So it's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
I fully enjoyed it.
Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. That wasn't there, but I bought it. The minute they announced that on there, I was like, yep, day one buying it because you guys know I mentioned that as my favorite Game Boy Color game. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, amazing game. Still highly recommend it. But that is all we have for today's podcast. Next week, we're going to have some homework. Fan went it and created a list of all the games that we mentioned last week on the podcast for our favorite games for each system. And the homework is before we start the podcast and get into our major topics, we're each going to discuss one game that was mentioned on the list that you didn't mention, but somebody else mentioned. So you have to play at least one of those games just to try it out. It doesn't have to be a long, but, just at least try it out and get a feel for it. And then talk about your experience with that game. It's going to be pretty fun because there was quite a few games on there on that list that I've never played. So I'm going to go ahead and try it out and see how it works. Hopefully everybody here picks Breath of Fire 4 because
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm already
Brian,
playing it
that's
now,
it.
so yeah.
I knew he was going to say, bro. I'm playing DQ3 now, and I'm almost done with it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost done with the game.
Where you at in DQ3 now?
I'm actually at the final castle now. I'm just like, oh, awesome.
Nice.
I did have to cheat a little bit because I couldn't find the Sunstone because apparently people were saying that fighting the staff of rain and the armlet or something like that were hard to find, but I found it harder for me to find the Sunstone, and that was like first thing you get before you get to that other place. So I'm just like, bro, what the heck? It was just hidden somewhere in the castle. I hate it. So,
Nice.
but yeah, I'm pretty much at the castle. I was pretty much playing the game while you guys were having the podcast because I forgot to do laundry, so now I'm in the freaking laundry room
Yeah.
right now. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back next week with that. So definitely, come back next week, join us, so you can hear our thoughts on all these games, and you can hear everybody's thoughts on Breath of Fire 4 because I know that's what they're gonna choose. But yeah, thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Bryant, where can I catch you at?
Red_so_deep on Twitter.
Ben, how about you?
You guys can catch me on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter/X at Phaneckswhy.
What about you, Ash?
Same thing as last time, I guess. I mean, honestly, I'm really fun on the internet these days, so I'm probably at the random encounter.
Yeah, you can catch him at the laundry room as well, doing laundry. So
Unfortunately.
yeah, and then like I said, subscribe to us on YouTube. Trying to hit the 1,000 subscriber goal. We're sitting at 785, so every bit does count. Also follow us over at Twitch. I do simultaneously stream on both platforms. If you are on Twitch, stay tuned. We will be rating the Geek Show because he has archives going on. As always, I recommend watch the archives. It's great fun to have in the background while you're doing stuff. Basically, archives is Toonami for video games, where he has video game playthroughs. He has these little commercials from the 90s on there that kind of play for commercial breaks. Pretty cool thing that he has going on, so definitely stay tuned for that. We will be rating him there. My name is James from the Random Encounter. Thank you, Fan. Thank you, Bryant. Thank you, Ash. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye.